We are continuing our Road to Reparations series with a special conversation between the descendants of Dred Scott and the descendants of the family who enslaved this historic figure.
In part 2 of our story, NBC5's Christian Farr finds out more about their relationship and their feelings on the question of reparations in Illinois.
There's still generational trauma from slavery.
Inside Chicago's historic DuSable Museum.
It's a good feeling to know that we don't have to hate. Well, I never did, and they never did.
Two women come together once again to talk about the traumatic history that brought them together, the story of Dred Scott. Scott was the enslaved man who in 1846 legally fought to secure his freedom, but was ultimately denied that freedom by the Supreme Court. Its Chief Justice concluded that enslaved blacks were not and could not be citizens.
Dred Scott apparently was cared for by this family in a way that you don't normally see slaves being cared for.
Lynn Jackson is a descendant of Dred Scott, and Louise LeBourgeois is a descendant of the man who enslaved him, Peter Blow. That piece of history impacted Louise at a very early age.
I felt shame, and that learning more about this, that shame has transformed into this sense of, I can make a difference.
Making a difference meant building a relationship with Dred Scott's descendants. And it started with Louise's late father, John, who sought to make amends for what happened in the past. John traveled to Virginia to attend the dedication of a plaque marking Dred Scott's place of birth.
He was able to, build whatever relationships he could while he was still alive. And this is one of my father's cardigans, and I wore it today because I knew that he would want to be here if he could.
Lynn Jackson welcomed those efforts, even as others questioned the possibility of a meaningful connection between the descendants of the enslaved and their enslavers.
They're people because they care, they have feelings, and they also comprehend the severity of the difficulty of the situation, and they're willing to work to change it.
Lynn Jackson didn't just start a relationship with the Blow family, Dred Scott's original enslavers. She also started a relationship with the Tawney family, who was related to the Supreme Court Chief Justice who handed down that decision against Dred Scott.
I work with the Tawney family also, who is the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, who ruled on Dred Scott and said those things that were pretty abhorrent.
Lynn appreciates the relationship she has been able to build with both of these families. Louise and Lynn support the work that the African Descent Citizens Reparations Commission is doing to uncover the harm done to the descendants of the enslaved.
I'm absolutely for reparations.
We've got to be sure that those who were enslaved, their descendants, have a proper education. And we could talk about that for years.
I mean, there's no doubt that families like mine, we've had passed down, generational wealth, generational social capital, and all of that stuff that was denied to enslaved people.
At the DuSable Museum, Christian Farr, NBC5 News.
Our thanks to Christian. And you can check out more stories like this, one each Wednesday at 5 p.m. as we continue our conversation about Illinois' push to reparations.
Yeah, we should